On the last episode, Doc introduced us to this property, which desperately needs to be restored. Today he begins to clean up the mess and show us some things we may not have thought about.
Looking at your yard, looking in the front and looking in the back, I think probably for curb appeal it's probably best if we start working on the front of your yard. If you see here, we've got lots of hostas that were dug out from a neighbor's house, and I brought some of the perennials down from the garden center. And over here, like I say, we're not really sure what we're going to do. We'll have to see once we get all the weeds out of the gardens and stuff. But I'm thinking that a 6mm plastic with holes cut in it and maybe fabric, really resilient, good, strong fabric so the weeds can't pop up. And then maybe replant the hostas. I think the client needs kind of like a private space in the back that he can just sit and write his novels or whatever, away from everybody in this city. Try to make this place look a lot better. This garden here is kind of in a tough position right now. It's full of weeds and it kind of needs some help. And so we're just going to go through and going to show you what to do with your gardening when it's kind of gone way beyond its destruction point, and we're going to try to make something out of it. I don't know what this is. And what we're going to do is we're going to just kind of go and first clean out. It's kind of cleaning out a closet, clean out all the junk that you don't want, and then seeing what's left in the closet. And then at that point we'll need to make a decision of, are we going to mulch it? If we mulch it, we have to decide if we're going to put plastic down or landscape fabric. This is I'm not sure, but it looks to me like there's two different shrubs growing here. I'm not real sure what this is, but I know that this is a hydrangea. So what I'm going to do today is we're going to clip out as much of this secondary plant, which I think is not a flowering plant, and we're going to just redefine the hydrangea. And because I'm cutting it back quite a bit, it may not bloom this summer. Just by already taking out the thistle, it already looks remarkably better. So, and we might have to take out the whole shrub altogether, but we'll see. We're going to see how this goes. I clipped out a few of the branches, and as I get closer, I'm noticing that this plant here is growing alongside of the hydrangea. So we're going to go get a shovel and try to dig out this secondary plant here, which is definitely affecting this garden and this plant here. Okay, so as we mentioned before, this hydrangea here has got a secondary plant growing next to it, which I consider to be a weed. And as we took some of the branches away from it and we're trying to dig out the secondary plant, and we're finding that the root system is integrated with this hydrangea. So it looks like, which I didn't want to have to do, but looks like we're going to have to dig the entire, both plants out and then separate the roots, because if we only just clip it down, it's just going to come back again. It's in a blooming cycle, so we really don't want to leave the roots exposed too long. So let's, Nick here is going to keep digging, and we'll probably end up taking the whole ball out and separating the two and then sticking the hydrangea back in the ground again. I'll hang onto this and you see if you can yank that up. Good. Okay, so we got that secondary plant out, and even though we had to do a lot of cutting in the root, there's probably still roots down below. Fortunately, we didn't have to dig out this whole hydrangea. Half of it is cut out. We're going to push it back in and kind of mount it back up again, and because I've severed into the root, I will need to cut down these stems here because it's going to stress out. Oh, and here's still part of, fortunately it's pretty much in the shade. If it was in full sun, I would say we'd have to do something different. This is my homegrown landscape shirt I'm wearing. 14 years I did landscaping, but now I own a garden center and I don't have my garden center shirt on, so it is what it is. Enjoy. Okay, let's put this back, dig a hole there. Okay, so at one point here, we had this bush tipped over and we pulled off the secondary plant that I could not identify. If you notice here, we have the hydrangea. There's a lot of dead stock in here from previous years, so the point is I'm going to do now is I'm going to clean out all the dead stock. We're just going to leave the viable stems that are growing here. But I'm also going to be cutting them back too, because we had to cut into that root. I'm thinking at the end of the day this might slump down a little bit, so I want to make sure that all these stems are out, and then I'm going to cut these down a little bit, and this will help preserve the plant. Anytime you do a digging, then you always want to water. Now they had a lot of rain here yesterday, so I'm expecting the ground's going to be pretty moist all the way through, but we're going to water it anyways. So as you can see, we've got a lot of this cleared out, and yet we've just kind of only just begun. Looking down by my feed, you can see that I've trimmed up all the dead debris on this hydrangea. It looks like it's pretty dead. I also cut a lot of the live stems. It looks like I've kind of massacred the plant. But actually what this plant will do now that it's not in competition with that weed that was growing alongside of it, it'll flush back out again. It may not bloom this summer. It may, I don't know. I guess we'll have to see. At the base of the plant here, you see there's still a lot of seedlings, tree seedlings and things like that. And as the edging goes around, it kind of disappears. You'll find that with edging sometimes disappears like below the grass line. Grass line sometimes tends to come up. So what we're going to do is we're going to redefine the edging. And I think this garden will probably be bigger than we're anticipating.
On the next episode.
In continuation with this garden that we're working on, if you notice over here, I've got everything trimmed down. If you do buy fabric anywhere, you need to go to a landscape company or they sell commercial landscape fabric. Don't get the stuff from Menards or Home Depot or anything like that. It's not any good.